My literature review and capstone project are about the need for diagnostic assessments in secondary English classrooms. Literacy is of the utmost importance, a skill without which children will be unable to become successful. However, many high school students, especially those who are ELLs or in low-income districts, are struggling to pass the English STAR and/or perform well on the SAT. Students lack inferential skills, are weak in identifying main idea, are not sure how to figure out the author's purpose, and know little about rhetorical devices. They are not engaging deeply with anything they read, whether because of a reading fluency or comprehension issue or because they simply do not like reading. Diagnostic assessments are an essential tool which can be used to pinpoint this possible gap in fluency and provide enough information to create targeted intervention programs that help increase literacy. Here we have an overview of what I will be discussing in the presentation. First, it will be reading deficits in high schools and what that looks like, diagnostic assessments in the secondary classroom, reading intervention programs which have been modified from their original intention to be used in the lower grades, and then reader response theory and how readers workshop will be useful in a classroom with varying reading levels. Lindsay A. Harris, a former research assistant with George Washington University, mentions that half of the incoming 9th grade students in a high school where she conducted a study on the Words Their Way program are from high-poverty urban schools and read at a 6th or 7th grade level. This is an issue that a lot of people a lot of educators at schools with a high number of at-risk students face every day, and diagnostic assessment is a way to bridge that gap and get us to find a way to meet our students' needs. So, for intervention, where do we begin? Unlike their secondary counterparts, elementary and middle schools use a combination of standardized assessment data and diagnostic assessments to identify students' needs and weaknesses in instruction. These tests, while used in lower grades, are of even more use in secondary classrooms where reading difficulties are harder to spot in adolescents who have learned to hide their reading deficits. This is a necessary step not only to build and strengthen literacy, but to understand the needs of our students as individual learners. In order to create an effective literacy in our intervention program, we need to build data and knowledge about students' reading, word recognition, spelling abilities, regardless of grade level. Standardized testing is limited. They only give you a limited view of our students' abilities and do not allow us to diagnose and inform corrective instruction. In their book, Content Area Reading, Literacy and Learning Across the Curriculum, Richard Vaca and his colleagues propose the use of IRIs, or informal reading inventories, that are created from texts that students are expected to read at some point in the year. Informal reading inventories reveal quite a bit about the reading process and how students approach reading. Assessing reading rate, both oral and silent, reveals the student's ability to group words into phrases or clauses, while their comprehension assessment measures their ability to understand the text, showing their ability to complete multiple processes at once, identifying words, making meaning of them, and remembering information. This is targeted intervention programs. There are targeted intervention programs available for upper-level grades, and many of them have been modified from corrective reading programs at the elementary or middle school level. Words Their Way, which I have mentioned a little bit earlier before, is an explicit inductive instructional approach to teach phonemic awareness, spelling patterns, and morphology. Its creator, Harris, which I mentioned before, and her colleagues modified it in order to teach orthographic knowledge to 9th grade students reading at a 7th grade level. Incorporating this program, such as Words Their Way, is much easier if it can be incorporated into a classroom where small group interventions are already a part of the routine. Read 180 is another intervention program which is already utilized in schools across the country. This is a reading program designed for struggling readers who are reading 2 or more years below grade level, which is a lot of our students, unfortunately, and combines online and direct instruction, student assessment, and teacher professional development. Next, we have the reader response theory. Efforts to increase reading comprehension may begin with diagnosis, but must also focus on providing students with targeted intervention where needed, while simultaneously providing them with a way to engage with text in a meaningful and authentic way. The reading workshop model, which is part of this reader response theory, allows teachers to differentiate their reading instruction because it is both student-centered and a highly engaging way to include all learners. Students choose a book to read independently and silently, pausing once in a while to engage with their books through activities such as book talks, interviews, or portfolios, or technology tools such as Weebly or Wiki. Meanwhile, teachers are able to set up an area for small group or individual intervention, which can rotate day to day or week to week depending on the various skill levels and needs of students within the classroom. Reader response strategies help teachers provide authentic and significant opportunities for students to learn and shows that they are valued as a group of individual and diverse learners. Now for my specific project. So again, the problem. The problem that I have seen is that low EOC and SAT reading scores in secondary schools may be a sign of undiagnosed reading deficits. What is our possible solution? Diagnostic reading assessments paired with intentional, targeted intervention can improve reading comprehension and word recognition skills, therefore improving student literacy. Now for my project outline. So, the goal of this project is to use diagnostic testing and intervention programs, usually reserved for the lower grades, to help build literacy in secondary ELA classrooms. My specific project will be conducted at an urban, high-poverty high school with a large population of Hispanic and African American students. My sample size is going to be roughly 800 10th grade students, ranging from pre-AP, general education, and ESL classes. I will create a spelling diagnostic and informal reading inventory, or the IRI, using 2 grade-appropriate texts, 1 informational and 1 fictional. Their results, paired with STAR data from the previous year, will be used to group students in each class based on their instructional reading levels. The reading workshop model will be implemented with all students in an effort to increase their reading fluency and comprehension. Students with deficits of more than 2 years, less than an 8th grade reading level, will be provided with targeted interventions which will meet twice a week, where we will engage in word study activities. Students who are 1 year behind in their reading will meet with me once a week, and students at or above instructional level will meet every other week. I will track student progress with the help of my planning team of 7 English teachers, using formative assessments, student reflective surveys, and further diagnostic assessments given at the end of every 9-week period, which is roughly a unit. Teacher commentary on the usefulness and effectiveness of both diagnostic assessment and reading interventions, such as reading workshop, will be recorded after post-assessment debrief and reflection sessions. Barriers to comprehension are barriers to literacy. Reading deficits can be found at any grade level, though educators in secondary schools are less likely to have the training necessary to learn how to find them, as generally diagnostic reading assessment is only administered consistently to students in the lower grades. Diagnostic assessment is just a tool and a fast one that we can use in order to meet our students' needs and help them become better readers and also hopefully lovers of learning and lovers of reading as well. Sorry, excuse me. And finally, we have my resources that I have used.